بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم اللهم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحانك لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك أنت المقدم وأنت المؤخر وأنت على كل شيء قدير اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما واجعل التفرق بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تدع فينا شقيا ولا محروما. In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praise and thanks are due to him and peace and blessings be upon his beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He who is guided by the will of Allah, no one can misguide him, and he who is misguided, no one can guide him except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we are still continuing inshallah with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the journey of Isra and Miraaj. Last time we covered the first part, which was about the whole idea of the mu'jiza, the miracle, that it's part of our faith. If someone else, and I mean by the else, the one who has suspicions or non-believer, simply we can't force anyone to believe. But if you believe in the existence of Allah and you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent a revelation through the archangel, and you believe that Allah is the creator, and you believe Allah is the one who created the Jannah and the Nar, and you believe it's simple part of the continuation of the series of your faith. You've been told through the Quran and through Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam simply that he was taken in this journey. It's either you accept it or you refuse it. If you refuse it, you will be a disbeliever. It's a very simple equation. Because, you know, in the area of faith, as long as I highlighted, if you can remember, last time we highlighted there's difference between that we don't know the how and the contradiction. Please fix this in your mind, because sometimes some followers of other religions, they use the fact that people, they don't distinguish between the contradicting thing and the thing that we can't realize how it happened. We say, okay, why you blaming us that we have this kind of contradictions in our religion? You have contradictions. Can you understand how? Does it make sense how your prophet went to the seventh heaven? Jazakallah khair. Shukran. Thank you. Jazakallah khair. Shukran jazeelan. Allah jazakum khair. We say no, we can't realize the how, but we know that it is rational. It could be acceptable, but we don't know the how. There's big difference than when someone tells you the 3 is 1 and the 1 is 3. This is irrational, illogical. It's impossible. The number 3, when I tell you, for example, this is a bottle. This is a key. Okay? This, for example, this is coffee. I say these are 3 things, but they are 1 thing. Literally. It's impossible. There are 3 things, okay? 3 personalities, 3 entities, 3 bodies, 3 whatever. So by default, the 3 is not 1 and the 1 is not 3. This is contradiction, logical contradiction. Unacceptable, cannot be imagined, cannot be rationalized, cannot. It's impossible. But if I told you, do you believe that we can send data from the United States to China in less than a few seconds? You say yes. Do you know how? I challenge. Do you know the how? The exact how. We use the word waves. صح? أمواج. We broadcast. Okay, what is broadcasting? We send data through satellites. Okay, how? Waves. Okay, what is the wave? Whatever you tell me, do we know really? I mean, physically, is it a tangible asset that we can see it? Can we see the electrons and the protons and this? We don't see it. We don't know. We made some devices. We press here, we receive there. The exact transmission physically, literally, we don't know it. We don't know it as a tangible asset. We realize that there is something happened. We discovered that this could happen. We do sin, but we don't realize the exact how. But this is not impossible. This is not irrational. This is not illogical. Are you with me? But when you tell me that these three things are just one thing, even though they are three, but they are one, this is impossible. When I say the logical, impossible, like, for example, can you imagine that part of this battle is better than the whole battle? Is it possible logically? Any part of this battle is smaller by default, logically. As long as it's a part, it's smaller. So if you said part of this is bigger, this is impossible. Can you imagine a son comes before the father who was the reason of the coming of this son? It's impossible, because the father will not be a father unless he was the reason of begetting a son, and the son was not called a son unless he was begotten by a father. So when you tell me that a son can come before a father, it is impossible. I keep reminding you with that, so that not to mix between when we speak about mu'jiza, okay, which is the miracle, breaking the norm. Allah created the universe according to norms, okay, habits, something we got used to happen. So Allah breaks the norm. Normally we don't fly. Can we, with our normal abilities, move from a place up, without using any aid, any external aid? Forget now airplanes, forget supersonic flight jet or whatever. As a normal human being, can I move from the United States, for example, to, let's say, Germany, which is about, let's say, 7,000 miles? Can I move in minutes in my normal ability? It's impossible. Which impossible? Is it the rational, logical impossible? No, it's the normal impossible. Normally I can't do it. But is it possible to find a very fast, supersonic airplane takes me in 10 minutes there? Yes. Now, some military, fight jet, I think they have the 5 times double speed of the sound, which is about 2,000 kilometers a second. 2,000 a second. I'm not talking about commercial planes. Commercial planes 17 up to 1,200 miles per hour. The military jets, some of them 5 times double the sound, supersonic, which means around, I think 340 meters per second sound speed. When you multiply it 5 times, it's about 1,800 meters per second, which means 2 kilometers per second. It's sorry, 340, yes. And anyway, the idea, we can't imagine it because normally it's very difficult, but we can do it. It's not impossible, logically impossible. So keep this in your mind. We started talking about Isra and Miraaj. It's very difficult to know the how, but we believe it happened. Simply, we are doing simple part of it. Just 200 years ago, none of us was able to know that it's possible to any of us to fly. Now we can fly it more than the speed of the sound, this is the difference. خرق للعادة. This is the Arabic terminology. خوارق العادة. Things that breaks the norm. Normally we don't do it. Allah breaks it for a Nabi or a Wali. And let me remind you something, because I did not mention that time. So be careful. It's good to repeat it now. خوارق العادات, breaking the norms in Islam, they are just 2 types. معجزات وكرامات. Now, the mu'jiza as a terminology is different from the karama. They share something and they differ in something. Now, both mu'jiza and karama, they do share the common ground. Both of them Allah makes them by breaking the law that He Himself stated. Allah breaks the law. So both of them, they share كسر المألوف, كسر القانون. They differ. The mu'jiza is called, it's when this law is broken for the sake of a Nabi to prove his message. المعجزة خارق للعادة لإثبات النبوة. إنه فلان نبي أو رسول. This is called what? معجزة. But does Allah break the law of His universe for someone other than a prophet or a messenger? Yes. In our faith, we call it wali. But this is unfortunately is misused by many Muslims. Now, قال, the other one is خارق للعادة إظهارا لمكانة ولي من أولياء الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praising the concept of those who wali, those who are highly protected by Allah, highly, had the high position by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have a sound hadith about من عاد لي وليا فقد أذنته بالحرب. Allah is declaring the war against anyone who's trying to be an enemy for one of His close people. Like in my simple, humble words, like the VIP of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who are very close. However, the karama, which could be breaking the law, happens when Allah wishes to show the high dignity and honor of the person, not by His permission or by His request. I repeat, why I'm saying this? Some, I don't generalize, I repeat, some Sufi orders, they misuse this badly in the Islamic world. Some Sufi groups, they believe their sheikh, they do the karam whenever he wants, in the way he wants. This could be shirk, absolute kufr. When we say karama, the one who decides which is breaking the law, like the mu'jiza, but for a non-prophet. Who decides it? Allah. When Allah decides. If you've been told about someone, whenever he wishes a karama will happen, put a big question mark whether he is aslan a Muslim. Be careful. This is a basic condition. Because otherwise, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, according to this misconception, those shuyukh of some Sufiya better than the Anbiya and the Rasul tens of times. Because even the prophets and messengers, they were not able to do the mu'jiza whenever they want. True or false? So if they do it. So we believe in that, but I'm telling you that because in our faith, we have the concept of mu'jiza and karama, which is completely breaking the law. Is it possible? It happened, by the way. It happened sometimes for a group of Sahaba. They walk with their horses in the water. It happened in one of the battles. It happened. It's not their permission. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did that. It happened at the time of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. Karama. He was doing his khutbah when he was a caliph in his time, in his period. So out of nowhere, he just screamed in a very loud voice while he was doing the khutbah. He said, Al-Jabal, Al-Jabal, Ya Sariyat Al-Jabal, Al-Jabal. No one realized why he was saying, why it happened. Seerah was one of the soldiers who were sent with a group of soldiers, to protect Muslims, against some of their enemies, tens and hundreds of kilometers away. Out of a sudden, he said, Al-Jabal, Al-Jabal. What happened? Umar al-Khattab, he was given like a vision. He saw this small group of Muslims, they were about to be attacked from behind the mountains. So he said it. The people of the Medina, they did not realize, when everything happened, days later they came, they were about to be vanished, then they heard the sound of Umar saying Al-Jabal. They, paid attention to the area where their enemy, they were about to attack them, and they won the battle. How did it happen? Now, in our days now, we can realize it. We allow the speakers, Bluetooth, waves, satellites, TV channel, radio, TV, whatever. At that time, no means at all. It happened by the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Now, in light of this, we understand the same thing now, Mu'jizat al-Isra wal Miraaj. I'm just trying to broaden some of your information in case the idea of breaking the norm, i.e. Mu'jiza, Karama, Khariq lil-Ada, is open to be ready to deal with karama, mu'jiza, nubuwa as part of our faith with these restrictions. Okay? We did this at that time, but I added now the concept of al-karama. However, we need to know that we've been told, and we had in the Sunnah, hadith of Prophet, Al-Isra, it's mentioned clearly, Subhanalladhi asra bi'abdihi layla min al-masjid al-haram. And in Surah Al-Najm, Allah was mentioning, as I told you, about the Al-Mi'raj. Do you remember? When he saw Jibreel alayhi salam next to the tree of Sidrat Al-Muntaha and the great signs that he saw by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We mentioned that. And if you remember, we mentioned as well the layers of the heavens. And he was given the permission to go from number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Who can remind me which prophet was in the first layer of heaven? Adam alayhi salam, yes. Number 2. Yahya alayhi salam. Number 3. Huh? Yusuf alayhi salam. Number 4.
Isa is the second, but the Salih has an Isa in second.
No, not Salih.
It's Yahya.
You forgot Isa and Isa and Yahya. It's not Yahya alone. Both of them. قال ابن الخالة. You know, they are the cousins, maternal cousins. ابن الخالة. Then he met Harun alayhi salam, Yusuf alayhi salam, Harun alayhi salam, Idris, Musa alayhi salam, then Ibrahim alayhi salam. Okay, we did that last time, and one of the indications, just to sum up why specifically those, some of the ulama said every one of them has like a similar story to what the Ummah of Prophet Muhammad is about to face, and Prophet Muhammad himself is facing. You know, the similarity with Adam, the similarity with Ibrahim. Everyone has something, you know, say similar or big lesson that we will be facing as an Ummah. Now, let's continue our today's reading from the Hadith Sahih. I'm narrating the most authentic narration, and let me remind you about something as well. Isra and Miraaj, highly spread. There is a lot of misleading, non-authentic hadith. Sometimes they are fabricated, sometimes they are very weak. They are printed and they are read in what they call the Mawlid sometimes, okay? They read, that's all right. And it's not authentic. A lot of details inside it, it's not authentic. We have our own ways. So we are reading now from Al-Bukhari. So most of the things that I read it, actually, it was directly from Al-Bukhari. Today, I'm continuing the narration of Al-Bukhari. We came to قال إثبات حكاية البيت المعمور. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم says ثم رفع لي البيت المعمور ثم أتيت بإناء من خمر وإناء من لبن وإناء من عسل فأخذت اللبن فقال هي الفطرة أنت عليها وأمتك. Now, and by the way, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did not explain every single word of what he said, because it was at that time highly well known. So sometimes we need to go to the scholars who understood from the Sahaba or from what is the indication of this, why it happened in this way, why they offered him such and such, why he replied, what's the meaning of this or that reply. قال رفع لي البيت المعمور. He mentioned something called البيت المعمور. He did not give us the exact description of this البيت المعمور. However, he mentioned to us, like you say, البيت الحرام. What is البيت الحرام for us? Kaaba. What is the main aim for the existence of Kaaba? It is the direction, the central point where everyone is directing himself by the will of Allah as a sign of obedience. We've been taught by Prophet Muhammad that opposite to this, in the seventh heaven, there is something similar. The name of this thing is Al-Baytul Ma'mur. We don't know the description. So, similar to what we do on earth, there is something for the angels called Al-Bayt al-Ma'mur. And by the way, what do we share with angels? Obedience. We share obedience. We have the option they don't have. By the way, angels, they were created in a way they can't disobey. We can. That's why one of the amazing things that Allah gave us a status more than the angels, by the way. Because angels, they don't have the willpower to say no. You and I have. To see how Allah has honored us. Wallahi. The angels, they were created just to obey the commandments. Part of their duties is to do the tawaf around the Bayt al-Ma'mur, like what we do. It's a sign of commandments. نقطة. We know this. It's happened. Then Prophet قال ثم قال أتيت بإناء. He was given like like 3 containers. One of them contains khamr, which is the wine. One of them contains the laban, which is a laban. It's one of the narration of the halib, which means the milk. Okay, not yogurt. Laban in Arabic is used for the meaning of what we say now, because up to this moment now, I think our Egyptian brothers, they say laban. You say laban? Yes. They mean it by a halib. So we in Bilad al-Sham and the rest, we say halib. They say al-laban. So in this narration, the laban means the milk. Okay. قال and وعسل. قال فاخترت اللبن. The whites. Then he was told اخترت الفطرة. Your way, okay, this is a symbol. How, when, why, we have no idea. But the idea, he was told the fact that you decided to choose the milk, you've been driven to choose the correct, pure inner nature, O Muhammad. نقطة. This is what he was told. I have no idea about exactly. Some of the ulama, they said, if I'm not mistaken, you know, the laban represents the origin of that we are based, I mean, we can't live without the milk at the very beginning of our existence. As if he chose the source of our existence, which represents the reality of our need and the purity and that thing that, you know, nurture us from the very beginning. Wallahu a'lam. It's not a big deal. It's part of al-ghaib. However, we need to know that about al-Bayt al-Ma'mur. The first thing. Now let's come to something highly related with us now. قال إثبات حكاية تشريع الصلوات الخمس ثم فرضت علي الصلوات 50 صلاة كل يوم. Here comes one of the very interesting things. If you put your mind in them, you might be lost. Wallahi. I mean, you can't grasp how what I will be narrating happened, but we've been told that it happened. It happened. I mean, it's not up to your taste and my taste and what I think and what I feel, because, you know, we have different ways of how to think. So did it happen? Yes. It's high authentic and part of the possible thing. It happened. What is it? I will read the full Arabic text, then I will give you the core meaning in English. How many of you understand Arabic? تقريبا 50%. طيب. ثم فرضت علي الصلوات 50 صلاة كل يوم فرجعت فمررت على موسى فقال بما أمرت؟ قال أمرت ب50 صلاة كل يوم. قال إن أمتك لا تستطيع 50 صلاة كل يوم وإني والله قد جربت الناس قبلك وعالجت بني إسرائيل أشد المعالجة فارجع إلى ربك فاسأله التخفيف لأمتك فرجعت فوضع عني 10. It's very interesting. Can you imagine? We are talking about now 7th heaven and the 6th, Musa. And in specific Musa alayhi salam. This happened just with Musa, not with Ibrahim, not with Adam, with Musa alayhi salam. It's specific. This gives you an idea about the chosen people. Who were the chosen, who are the chosen. Who preceded who succeeded who. Very interesting. We are talking one of the most highest important events في الملأ الأعلى. I mean, really, والله, it's amazing when you know that at a certain time, 1,400 years ago, a human being who's Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in the seventh heaven. Allah is speaking with him, giving him the commandment of the prayer. He comes back while he's going down. Musa asked him, what did happen to you? He said, I was given 50 prayers a time, which means we should have been praying 50 times a day. Musa alayhi salam asked Prophet Muhammad, he said, please go back and ask your Lord to make it less. He said, because I experienced this with my people, the people of Israel. And it was very difficult, they did not. Then he went again and asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah accepted his request. This happened many times, and it was reduced from 50 to 40 to 30 to 20 to 10 to 5. Every time Musa alayhi salam kept begging Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, go and ask less, because now he's depending on his experience with the difficulty of the people of Israel in responding to the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he's making an analogy about his experience. At the end, he stopped, then he said, Prophet Muhammad, he said to Musa alayhi salam, he said, I have asked my Lord so many times, I feel shy to keep asking more than that. Khalas, I will not do it more than that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has honored me 5 times with reducing. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it will be 5, but the reward and the ajr will be 50. طيب. Sorry. قال, and after many times, I will just to make it short. قال إن أمتك لا تستطيع 5 صلوات كل يوم. After he reduced it to 5. قال وإني قد جربت الناس قبلك وعالجت بني إسرائيل أشد المعالجة. He said, be careful. Your ummah, your people, your followers will not be able to do it. This is the thought of Musa alayhi salam. Your ummah will not be able. And I have handled this problem with the people of Israel before you. قال فرجع. And it was a big challenge and very difficult. This gives you an idea that with the ups and downs of the people of Israel with Musa alayhi salam, in many times they were not responding probably to Allah's commandments. He was suffering with them. Because قال فعالجت ذلك أشد المعالجة, which means I suffered in handling this with my people so much. عالجت ذلك أشد المعالجة. قال فارجع إلى ربك فاسأله التخفيف. Go back again and ask him to reduce it, to make it less, easier. قال سألت ربي حتى استحييت. I asked Allah till I really feel so shy. ولكن أرضى وأسلم. I'm fully satisfied, I will submit and I will accept. That's it. قال فلما جاوزت نادى مناد أمضيت فريضتي وخففت عن عبادي. And when I just took this decision and stopped from going back to ask Allah again to reduce it, I hear the sound نادى مناد. Someone, one of the angels say قال أمضيت فريضتي وخففت عن عبادي. I have ordained, this is my final decision and I'm satisfied with my servants. Now the hadith stops in this, about this specific point by this. No more explanation from Prophet Muhammad about the highest authentic. But this gives you an idea about many things. Number one, the only thing that we took from the legislations, the ahkam, the teachings in Islam, on the span of 23 years of Prophet Muhammad's existence on earth, before he passed away, it was the prayer. At that specific time. This gives you an idea about the importance of Salah. Number two, Wallahu A'lam, one of the possible wisdom behind it, this kind of discussion between Musa alayhi salam and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This gives you an idea about what the chosen people were doing and what should be the latest chosen people will be. Because he was, says, I could not. They did not listen. They did not accept. They make it little difficulties. Alhamdulillah, when these prayers come now, alhamdulillah, any normal Muslim is so happy to do sujood for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 5 times a day. Actually, a normal Muslim, I'm not talking about the high rank Muslims, a little bit more than the normal, they enjoy praying the sunnah. Many Muslims, in addition to the 5 times obligatory prayer, they play ad-duha. Many of them, they pray Salat al-Tawwabin after the Maghrib. Many of them, they do Salat al-Qiyam. Many of them, they do al-Tahajjud. Al-Qiyam, any prayer, you pray it at night after Isha is called Qiyam. Anything you pray after you go to sleep and you wake up, it's Tahajjud. So we have millions of Muslims, they enjoy doing the Nafil, the Sunnah, the Duha, and the Qiyam and the Tahajjud. Actually millions and hundreds and tens of millions, alhamdulillah. So no one is discussing that, millions of people. This could be like a sign about the difference between a group of preceded believers and the latest, covenant. Because by the way, as you know, now, as we always say, sometimes when they ask me about the differences between the books, it's my field, by the way, in the comparative religions. I say a group of people, they had what they call Old Testament. Another people, they believe in the New Testament. We believe in the Last Testament. That's it. Very simple. They believe in the Old. Those they believe in the New. We believe in the Last. If you have the right to believe in the New against the Old, and you have the right to believe in the Old against the New, we have the right to believe in the Last against the New and the Old. So this is like some of the descriptions or some of the what should be the characteristics of those who follow this prophet. So alhamdulillah, we should be happy, proud that our 5 times prayer is one of the highest, let's say, value in terms of our ritual worship, and it has the value of 50 times, alhamdulillah, and it's a sign of obedience compared with those who preceded us. طيب. Now next point, قال إثبات كون جزاك الله خير. جزاكم الله خير. Thank you. بارك الله فيكم. شكرا جزيلا. Make dua for her mother. She's doing this on behalf على روح والدتها إن شاء الله. جزاك الله خير. Thank you very much, sister. بارك الله فيك. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. Now we have a new, let's say, point about this journey of Isra and Miraaj. يقول الإمام الطبري: وقد قرر جمهور العلماء أن الإسراء كان يقظة بروحه وجسده مرة واحدة، وأن الإسراء والمعراج كانا في ليلة واحدة. Now, there is a debate, huge debate, mainly highlighted, spread by Orientalists and some people who hate Islam and Muslims. They try to spread against Islamic thoughts, spread among Muslims that, hey, okay, it's true, this has happened, yes, but it was just in his spirit, which means a dream. It was not a real physical thing. Now, the majority of Muslim Ummah, according to the text and the evidences, we believe that physically in his body, he moved to the 7th heaven. It was not a dream, because by the way, if it's a dream, anyone can have this by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if it's a dream, when you go to many hadith, he should not have been facing this kind of rejection by the non-believers. Because anyone can dream anything. I mean, dreams, you can't control your dreams. You can see an amazing things. Okay, a dream, that's it. No. It was some of the narrations, apart from Bukhari, some less authentic narrations. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he came from the journey, in the very early morning after he finished, he was sitting next to Al-Kaaba. Abu Jahl came. You know, Abu Jahl was called Fir'aun هذه الأمة, the pharaoh of this ummah, as the title of which represents the level of hatred that he was holding against Islam and Muslims. So he just was coincidentally passing by. He said, okay, hey Muhammad, okay, what's up? What's the new thing that you have? So he simply said that, he said, what? What do you say? You just, this past night, you were in Jerusalem and you went to, he said, yes. Abu Jahl was so happy that he finally had an evidence that Muhammad ﷺ is a crazy person. He was so happy from his point of view. He went immediately running to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, the closest friend. He wants just to destroy the relation. By the way, subhanallah, at that specific moment, even Abu Bakr still had no idea about, Prophet Muhammad had not yet met Abu Bakr. It happened coincidentally, he was passing by Abu Jahl. He asked, what's the new thing that you have? He said, I was in Jerusalem. What? In Jerusalem, are you sure? Are you aware? You are not drunk? Are you sure? Hey Muhammad, he ran away to Abu Jahl. He said, هل تسمع يقول صاحبك? Have you heard? He was, mocking, making fun. It's like, hey, have you heard your crazy friend what he's saying? He's laughing. Abu Bakr has not yet met Muhammad ﷺ. He said, what did he say? He said, he claims that in this night, he went to Jerusalem and he reached up to the 7th heaven. He said, إن قالها فقد صدق. He said, if he said it, he's saying the truth. That's why he was called As-Siddiq. As-Siddiq. He said, إن قالها فقد صدق أصدقه على الوحي يأتيه بلحظة ولا أصدقه في هذه. He said, I believe in him that in less than a second, the archangel Gabriel comes to him to give him a reply or a respond on explanation and ayah, whatever. Wahi, it's by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In a moment comes, so what's the strange? He was using the common sense depending on what we are explaining. He said, if he said it, he's saying the truth. قال فسمي بذلك الصديق رضي الله عنه. So in our faith, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, for him, Isra and Miraaj was not a dream. It was literally, and all of the hadith refers to that. But sometimes you need to know that some of the enemies of Islam, they try to spread doubts. You can find it some websites, find it some books, especially by Orientalists. You need to know about Orientalism. Orientalist group of people from mainly Western, countries since 12th century, 13th, 14th, 17th, 18th, 19th, specifically 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th century, which means 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 years ago, more or less. Huge number of scholars, they were fully dedicated to study the culture of the Orient. At the very beginning, they meant by Orient, which means, opposite to the West. So at the very beginning, it was applied on China and the whole Middle East. All of us, we are the Orient, which means the East, versus what? The West. Then gradually, some of the studies of this Orient became more specific about Islamic culture in specific, because for the West, the majority of Orient historically was what? Muslims. Because Muslims ruled India 1,000 years. Most of what we know now or used to know as USSR, United Soviet Social Republic, which now is Russia, like Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Iran, Bukharistan, Afghanistan, some of them, they had different names. Balkh, Bukhara, okay? all of these areas, they were ruled by Muslims. So generally speaking, by the way, even, India was ruled by Muslims 1,000 years. They were kicked out just about 220 years ago, just 1,000 years. China at a certain time, it was ruled by certain part of China by Muslims. Originally they were the Mughals, Mughal. Some of the Mughal tribes who were attacking Muslims, they became Muslims, and some of them, they were kings and they ruled China. So can you imagine, big part of China, Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, okay, Malaysia, Indonesia, all of them, it's not just Muslim population, they were ruled by Muslims. So when the West says Orientalism, basically, mainly they were studying what? Islam and Muslims. Okay, these studies, they were focusing on understanding. So they were playing the role like, say, these studies like research studies now. Sorry, research centers, think tanks, okay? Research center. They were doing the studies, living between Muslims. Some of them, they claim they are Muslims to live with them. They spend 20, 30, 40 years studying tafsir, 30 years studying hadith, 30, 40 years studying fiqh. Some of them, they lived all of their years just in Cairo. Some of them, they lived just in Morocco. Some of them, all of their life in Iraq. They studied Iraqi culture, Arabic, tribal, Iraqi culture, Arabic Peninsula, Egyptian culture, plus tafsir, plus qira'at, hadith, Syrian culture. And all of these studies help Western people to do more than one thing. One of them, they prepared them for what they call it colonialism. To colonize, which means to occupy and seize these countries, which happened mainly, we know British and the French, but many people, they are not aware of the Spanish, the Dutch, which is the Holland, people of Holland, okay, Italians, many of them, they, for example, Italy, they were occupying and killing many people in Libya. France is the big hero, up to this moment now, France, up to this moment, they are colonizing, occupying and taking all of the khair that comes from 16 African countries up to this moment now. They print the coins and the banknotes of 16 African countries now. The Central Bank of France now, 21st century of democracy and the human rights. And they speak about the human rights. They control the lives of 16 African countries now. Can you imagine this? I'm not thinking of 500 years now. 16 countries. Anyway, when I speak about why I'm speaking, part of controlling Muslim population by Orientalists, it was spreading doubts among Muslims against their religion. It's like it used to be called the intellectual war, al-harb al-fikriyya. Part of the war. You need the military, you need arm, okay? You need weapons, you need what? From their point of view, to occupy, you need to make it weak. To make them weak, spread doubts against the most powerful thing, because of it they are power, which is their religion. Make doubts. So they work in the level of Quran, level of Sunnah, level of Qira'at, level of Arabic language, level of everything. Study. They wrote tens and hundreds and thousands of books. When someone used to go and study in France or in the UK, he will become completely brainwashed, will come back spreading these things, and it happened. It happened for tens and hundreds of years. And after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, the power, it was much, because, Sykes-Picot and we were divided and something, it's a long story. Why I'm just paying your attention, in case if you are not aware, when I speak about a doubt from the type of that Muhammad did not travel by his body, you might see it's something silly. No, it's part of a big, huge area of spreading doubts against anything has to do with the possibility of shaking your faith, base. Just if they succeeded in any way to let you have a doubt that the Quran might not saying the truth, or Muhammad was not saying the truth, or in Islam something is not true, once they were able to plant the seeds of this, khalas, they caught you. You are lost. Got my point? So that's why sometimes intellectually you need to be prepared to know how to deal with these things. In case if you are facing a doubt, why, what happened, it is a huge area of knowledge. And I personally, I deal with it in the context of speaking about atheism. I received many cases in my life, in the university, in the United States, here, in Canada, back home. Some people, they have doubts. Sometimes they became non-Muslims or are thinking to reconsider their Islam because of the doubts. When you come to the doubts, many of these doubts, they were spread by those people. But they have like a new shape on the websites now. Someone is just spreading them, writing them, if your Quran, if such and such, if such and such. But you need to know, if you don't know how to deal, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ. Ask the people of knowledge. Give you a simple example, how some Orientalists, they were working against Islam, which is completely against ethics and science and academic life. Now, in our great religion, we have the filtering system of Ilm al-Rijal. You know it. The change of the narrators. Depending on filtering the system of the narrators, our scholars, for tens and hundreds of years, they make final judgments about the rank of the hadith. We have the authentic sound, which is sahih. We have the hasan, which is a little bit less than the sahih. We have the da'if, the weak. It's possible that it was said by Prophet Muhammad. And we have the fabricated, which is mawdu'. They were classified with judgment by scholars, but you need to study these things. Not everyone knows these things. Like, not every one of us is a specialist in medicine and you can go and do surgical operation for yourself. Can any one of us, by reading a few tens of hours on the internet, make a specific surgery for his nerves? By reading on the internet? It's impossible. You need to be an expert for 30, 35 years to do this. Anyway, it was the idea, that's right. Okay. So sometimes I receive someone came to me, he's very angry because he was brainwashed with the slogans of human rights and being nice, humanly. He comes to me, you know, Prophet Muhammad did such and such, in one of the wars he killed a woman and he pulled the hair between two horses and made her two pieces, blah, blah. Why? I was laughing. I said, what is your level of knowledge? Have you studied anything about Islam? No need. All the websites, they speak about him, look what he said. I said, do you have any idea about the concept of sound hadith and fabricated hadith? I don't care. Why Muhammad did so and so? يقول لك يا حبيبي يا أذكى أخواتك. You know أذكى أخواتك? Okay, anyway, untranslatable. Okay, I can't translate it. Huh? صعبة. والله, you know, Egyptian dialect, they have magical phrases. Wallahi, sometimes. I said, hey, I mean, do you know that this hadith is mawdu'? Okay, you said it's hadith. Okay, hadith mawdu'. You see, it's hadith. ولك موضوع fabricated. I don't care, it's hadith. حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل. You know, we have an Arabic Jordanian dialect, we say بتقول له ثور بيقول لك احلبوه. Do you know it? I can never say. Sometimes, you know, when you speak with an idiot, I mean, there is no common ground of communication. This hadith that you are depending on to hate your Islam is classified as a fabricated hadith in our sources. I don't care. Okay, if you don't care, how did you know that this happened without our sources? Huh? Habibi, you are judging Prophet Muhammad and you have the bad feeling towards him because you've been told that he did such and such. How did you know it? Our sources, because no one had the sources except us. It's us Muslims who narrated this. We classified it as fabricated to tell the others that whenever you read this, it did not happen. Someone made this lie. I don't care. You don't care. You got? So sometimes he has no idea about the classification of the hadith. He has no idea about who composed what. Nothing at all. خلاص. He read it on the internet. So his sheikh is Mr. Google. And that's it. So sometimes, by the way, I faced those people many times in my life. And some he had no idea at all. Yet he's ready to give up and to leave Islam because of a fabricated hadith. So your duty, when you are aware not to be influenced, to explain to him, Ya Habibi ta'al, do you know what I'm doing? Anyway, because this could happen at any moment for any one of you, whenever something mentioned from especially the ghaib things, the unseen. It's part of the basic idea. You need how to be standing on a solid ground, not a shaky ground. Not anyone comes just with a small doubt. You see? Like, for example, and let me finish by this. So inshallah we'll continue next time, because I want just to send a very quick message about Ramadan in the last few minutes. Once I was faced with a question, one of my students. Actually, I was asked the question more than once. If I'm not mistaken, by a male and female university students. Doctor, yes. Do you believe that Allah, the one that you worship, is just? I said, actually, Allah, it's not just He is just, He is justice. Al-Adl, He is the source of justice. I said, okay. If He is just, why He did not ask my permission before He created me? Why He forced me to exist without taking my permission? I said, please, just consider me, I am the idiot, okay? But answer my question. How He will ask your permission without creating you? He said, huh? I said, you said why He did not ask, this is literally the question. Why He did not ask my permission before creating me? How He will on earth will ask this question for you if you don't exist? The reply they say, huh? Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. It's very difficult to realize the feeling when you are really, now you are laughing because I'm just narrating to you. When you face it in reality, you don't know how to, you can't describe your feelings. Because sometimes everything is stopped. What can I do for him? He's insisting that Allah is doing injustice because he did not ask him before he is created. And by the way, he's defending his status as a very valid argument. What can I do for him? That we say, may Allah protect our minds from being crazy. That's it. And I do face him. University students sometimes. Anyway, we will continue inshallah after Ramadan. This is our last session before Ramadan. What I will be saying, maybe I will repeat part of it tomorrow after the tafsir inshallah. Just quick reminder with the very common things that I keep saying every Ramadan. In case some of you will not be with us tomorrow and some of you might not be with us in the whole Taraweeh. Ya Ahibba, one of the most important things that we need to know about Ramadan, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated clearly in the Quran, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. The main reason why Ramadan is an obligation, as Allah states clearly, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Fasting is ordained, designed by Allah on all believers before us. Pause. Do we know what's the number of them? Could be tens, hundreds of millions or billions. Because no one, by the way, knows for sure the age of humanity. We don't know. But one of the things we know, I keep telling you, how many prophets and messengers they were sent according to hadith? 124,000 prophets and 315 messengers. Can you imagine? What is the number of nations, populations, people who receive this? More than 100,000 prophets. And normally, each group of people, they receive just one, sometimes two or three, because it's mentioned in Surah Yasin. فَعَزَّزْنَاهُ بِثَالِثٍ فَقَالُوا إِنَّا إِلَيْكُمْ مُرْسَلُونَ. It happens sometimes twice, but the normal is one for a group. So the span of time, it could be tens, hundreds of thousands, Allahu A'lam. Allah is saying, oh who you believe, it was ordained on you that you must fast as it was ordained. It was an obligation on all believers who preceded you. طب Ya Allah, what is the wisdom behind it? لعلكم تتقون. So that you might be mindful of Allah, fearful of Allah, aware of Allah, respectful for the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the most important message we need to know about Ramadan. Because many people, they keep saying, Alhamdulillah, we fast. Why do we fast? And sometimes, TVs, Assalamu alaikum, you Muslims, why do you fast? Because it's a great opportunity, because Allah wants us to feel with the poor and needy and the hungry people. No. Ramadan is not just to feel with hungry people. It's a very simple, humble goal. It happened just by default. Simple one. The core idea to respect the commandment of Allah. Taqwa. To protect yourself against the anger of Allah. Not to feel hungry or to feel with the hungry people. No. This is very simple. The idea is that you have a desire, you need to fulfill it, you've been created to protect yourself against hunger, so you are ready to do anything so that you eat, so you are tested. Do you believe that Allah exists? Yes or no? If yes, do you feel hungry? Yes. Do you have the urgency to eat? Yes. Can anyone stop you from eating? No. Are you alone? Yes. Can you approach food? Yes. Can anyone stop you? No. Do you believe in Allah? Yes. Allah tells you, wait, don't eat till a certain time. So it's a test to control your desire in one aspect of your life out of tens and hundreds, which is your stomach, which is an urgent desire. Allah tells you, stop eating up to the sunset. Don't touch it. The idea of, do you respect Allah's commandments or not? The idea is not the food itself, by the way. Because, you know why? Because some people, they say, I will give you a simple dalil. One of the dalil that we keep using. If you are sick or you need the medicine and you fast and you hurted yourself, you'll be a sinful person. You must eat, you must break your fast. Another evidence and dalil. Allah created males and females. Part of the nature of the females, they have sometimes during the month what they call the period time. When the female is in the period, it is what? Fasting prohibited. Haram. She is commanded to break the fast. Now, when she does not have the period, she's commanded to fast. She will be rewarded, and if she breaks the fast, she is sinful. Once she had that status, it's an obligation to break the fast. If she insisted on fasting, she's sinful. So the idea, is it to stop eating or fulfilling the commandment? The commandment. That's why sometimes we always in Ramadan keep receiving questions. We say, some of the sisters, especially in the last 10 days, they say, why is Allah angry from me because I can't do such and such and that's last day and later Qadr because I have the period? I say, no. Now, the only thing, you are not allowed just to pray, but you are asked, you can read the Quran, you can do the tasbih, you have the same ajr, but don't do such and such, don't fast. If you respond to Allah as He wants, you will have the same ajr. So the idea is, do what Allah wants from you. Got my point? So the idea is, what? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. With this in mind, let's inshallah get into the month of Ramadan, inshallah, in 2 or 3 days, بإذن الله عز وجل. Thursday, صح? Ramadan is a Thursday. Type. In light of what I have highlighted, I have, I think, five minutes, huh? Yes. 3 minutes, because to give 2 minutes for the adhan. Any question about what I have highlighted?
May I ask a question?
Yes, about the topic. Yeah.
Baitul Ma'mur is at right top of the Kaaba of Makkah.
Babul what, sorry?
Baitul Ma'mur.
Baitul Ma'mur. Oh, sorry, okay.
Top of the Kaaba.
Yeah.
Of the dunya, of the
Yeah.
Makkah.
Inshallah, now.
So the world is moving around the moon. The science says. When it's moving around, how could it be then the Kaaba is not moving also with the world? And then how could it be the Baitul Ma'mur still on top of the Kaaba?
Brother, I mean, we don't know the exact physical things of these things. We have no idea. We know and by the way, even the whole idea of heavens, we don't realize it for sure because everything is round. That's a circle. Because from here is heaven, from here is heaven, from here is heaven. So we don't have exactly, it's part of the physical world, yes. But it contains a lot of secrets. We don't realize it. That's why before you come, I asked them, do we use waves to transmit data between mobiles and TVs and radios? Yes or no?
No.
How do we make telephone calls?
No, the transfer of the waves, we didn't know before.
No, I'm asking you, do we use something called waves to transfer data such as images and voices? Yes or no? Now.
Before, now we do.
I'm asking now, do we use it?
We do, yes.
Okay, do we know the exact how these things is transmitted, the exactly?
We don't know, but those people programmed it, they know.
My question, even those who program, they have the device, we receive it here. Is there anyone who has the full knowledge, literally, about the physical way how they move? They can't see it, they can't touch it, they can't measure, but they see the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you an idea about a simple, humble, tangible thing that we use, even though we don't realize the how. So when you ask me about the Bayt al-Ma'mur and 7 heavens, which is part of the nature of the Malaika and the physics, we have no idea about that how. We don't know.
We have told by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
No. You are asking me about the circle and the round.
Exactly, the circle is around, and then again that's a Kaaba. That's what I'm saying. The Kaaba is also moving. The Baitul Ma'mur, this Kaaba won't be same straight, same line.
Brother, because we don't know the exact nature, I can't answer you. My answer is, we don't know the how, so simply no answer. So, yes, we don't know. It's part of the ghaib, the how. Allahu a'lam. طيب, I think you will make the adhan, صح? جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. See you in tafsir tomorrow, inshallah, بإذن الله.